Hi, welcome back to my mini homestead, and I am sitting on a pile of lumber. So I've already started putting the bases or the ends together. We're going to head to the workshop. I'll show you how I actually do that, and then going to get out here and start putting these beds together. So I'm really excited about that. All right, cue the intro and let's go to the shop. I'm going to walk you through the steps on what I do with this. So I take my 4x4, which I have cut to the height that I need it based on how high the wood is cut at, and every piece is different. So a lot of times this will be just a little bit longer. I'd rather have it longer than shorter. So next what I do is I just draw a line down the side here. So I draw a line, and then I take this out of here. Oh, lovely, got some bugs. And then I figured out where about halfway was, and I drew another line here. So what I did is I went 2 1/4 inches from the edge, and I turned it around and did the other edge. And I did the other end the same way. Now what I do, I have a drill that's a bit longer than this wood is wide, so it's supposed to be 2 inches on it, but not necessarily correct. So then what I do is I line up my wood, and I use this as my template. So then I just drill through it and do the other one. And then what I have is I'll have a little dent right here. And now I will drill through. I'll put this one on top of another piece of wood and drill through, and that way I keep my template all the way. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to put them together. So let's show you what I've done. So there's all the ones that I've done so far. So I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got them for 4 beds, and I need to do 2 more beds. So I'm putting in 6 new beds total. So let me show you what I do to get this all figured out. So I'm just going to move it. So I lay out my 2 blocks, and next I check to see which of my pieces of wood are in better shape and what sides look better before I put them into place. So that'll do. So I'm just going to lay it there. Move my block approximately where it needs to be. Check my next one. This one actually has a piece missing, so I'm going to put that on the bottom. Okay, now got my screwdriver, my screws. I'm using structural screws, and these are 4-inch long ones because they go through enough to grab into the other piece of wood really good. Okay, so what I do is I line these 2 up so they're even, and all the wood is cut differently and a little bit different. And then what I do is I clamp it together, because that way it's going to stay nice and square. And now I can move my boards around to get it where I want it to be. So I want it to line up on the top as best as possible, and then I just check the edges because I want it to be lined up nice with the edges. And that's it. So that looking good. And what I do is I then screw in the 2 center ones. And then I put a lot of weight or pressure against it to get it to go in all the way. So it doesn't do that. Okay, that one's in. I went a little too far on that one. Now I go to the other end, And I'm going to repeat it there as well. Do the 2 center ones. Okay, once I have that done, I take the clamp off because sometimes the wood is bowed a bit, and if I leave that on there, it pulls it away from the block, and I don't want it to pull away from the block. That end is done. Now I just got to finish this end. Okay, so I've got 3 more to do, and then I'll take them all out to the garden. Okay, next steps. I've got all the end pieces for the beds here. My tools are in there, and I had 3 other pieces of lumber that were in there. Now what I need to do is take this bed apart. So I'm trying to figure out the layout here. I'm going to get my 18 inches, make sure I'm 11 feet from the greenhouse. Each bed's going to come out a little bit as we go towards the gate, but it's coming along. Hi everyone, Sandy here. As you can see, I've got garden beds behind me. The one right behind me, I'd actually thought I had filmed it so I could show you how to do this. Didn't. So I'm going to do another one today. The bed I'm putting together today is 45 inches wide and 12 feet long. I have to remove a bed from last year, level the ground as much as I can before I build the bed, and make sure all the 12 footers are actually 12 feet, or if I can find 4 of them that are 12 too, I'll go with that as well. So I'm just going to do some prep work, and then I will show you how the bed goes together, and that you can actually do it by yourself. It's great if you got another person to help you, but 4 of these beds I've put together on my own. I've had help from my mom with 2 of them, and today I'll be doing the last 2 by myself again. So you can do it by yourself. Let's get to it. So this is the last of 5 beds that I had to pull out of here, and they're almost 5 feet wide. This one was just over 12 feet long, and the longest one was 27 feet long. So all I'm doing here is trying to save all the compost so I can use it again. So I'm just digging around the boards, and you can see just to the right is where the next bed I build is going to go. And so I'm just piling this all up, getting it all in there, getting all the wood out of there. And then once I build the other bed, the compost will go into the next bed that I'm building. And all of this wood here is actually going to go up to the upper garden. We're going to do some fencing alongside the fence that's already there. Missy likes to get out of the yard, so that'll save her there. And also, we're going to use it to make some of the beds up there a bit higher. The asparagus bed needs more compost, so we're going to take them up there and get them done. And then just knocking out the rebar. I'm always worried I'm going to trip and pierce myself. So now I'm just getting ready to cut up the lumber. And the one thing about this lumber is none of it is straight on the end. So each one of them I need to square up the end before I measure it and then cut the other end. So you always got to go safety, and because it's cedar, I'm wearing gloves because I always get slivers. And there it is. And what do you think you're doing on that little pile of compost? You're gonna really miss it when it's gone, aren't you, Nugget? So clean, so clean.
Yeah, the puppies, if there's a pile of something, they are up it. So what I'm doing here is I've laid my two 2x8, true 2x8s, and then I'm standing up the ends of the bed. And of course, something goes wrong with it's just yourself. And once I get the board laid up there, it kind of holds everything into place. And I figure out which is going to be my top side. The bottom side has a little bit extra cedar on the 4x4 post. And as you can see with this one, I had it turned the wrong way, so I had to flip it around. So I'm just lining up the end there and then getting the next piece of wood up there. And yeah, as long as you have the ends flat and level, and you could always use something like a block or rocks or whatever to hold it so it stays in place. And now I'm just drilling a hole first, and I just had put in one screw at the end so that if I need to move it, I can go down to the other end, straighten it up, and then I'll put in one screw there. And I think actually I do the second screw. We'll just have to watch. Yeah, put in the second screw to lock it all into place. And then I'll come back down to this end and put the second screw in for that first piece. And what I've done now too is I've got my clamp, and I clamp it together so it just pulls everything together and it's nice and square, and it sort of locks those two pieces of wood into place. Just like what I did when I was building the end pieces. So there goes in that screw. And double check it at the other end, and down she goes. And then putting the other ones in there as well. Oh, there comes Missy. So once you're going, it goes together fairly quickly, and these are structural screws. So these ones are 4-inch long, so that since the wood is basically a true 2x2, or basically a true 2 inches thick, that's 2 inches through that board and then 2 inches into my 4x4. So it is definitely going to keep my beds together. And what I'm doing there is I'm just using a sledge to hammer the base in a bit, because the board wasn't quite coming together where it needed to, so I just needed to straighten it out. And they are heavy. Now let's get tools out of the way, and then what I need to do next is get the bed flipped over. I just keep moving over. The other thing you can do, which I've done before, is I just get under it and pick it up with my shoulders and back, and sort of like the middle of the bed. And Mom was there, she goes, do you want help? I'm like, no, I'm showing them how they can do this themselves. And so there it is, get it up, try to get it level. There, that's not too bad. And then it's time to put on the next boards. Just lining them up again, making sure it's nice and level, and then I'll put in one screw again after I drill my pilot holes. I just don't want the wood splitting, so I try to put a hole in every time first. And then down to the other end, in case I've got to turn it a bit. With only one screw in there, I'm able to do that. And these ones are a little bit tougher to screw in. They're big screws, so I've got an impact drill there. And you just want to make sure you put enough pressure behind it so it goes. I've only stripped one screw so far. And just checking which side of the board looks the best. If it's inside, who cares if it's got a ding or whatever. And as you can tell, I like the other side better. And also, I figure out this end that you're seeing, that's the end most people are going to see. Most people aren't going to walk down to the white fence and then look at the other end. So I just want it to look as good as I can have it look on this end. Going down to the other end. And getting those, so I've clamped it again, just to pull it nice and snug, and then put those last couple of screws in. Tools out of the way, and now it's time to lay that bed down. Now I have my beds quite close together because of the space I had measured it out, I drew a plan, and I figured out if I put in 5 beds, how much space did I need to have between the beds, And what I have is I only have 18 inches. So I have to make sure I keep everything trimmed up and pruned so that it is easy to get through it. And now what we're doing is just figuring out how to level it. Or not figuring out how to level, we're actually leveling it. And that's just so the water doesn't run under. And we're also putting down weed suppression fabric. And I really like that stuff. And then over top of that, we'll put wood chips. But we're just pulling it in under the wood so the wood locks it in place. Missy's checking out the last bed we made. And now what we're doing down in the corner, because our land is not level and we want the bed level, we're putting some bricks under there to lift those beds up. So this is what it looks like. We've got bricks under here in the corner that you saw just in the previous clip there to lift it up, so that the compost wouldn't fall out. We took the weed suppression fabric. We took just like a foot of it. So we cut it there and then we folded it in the corners and filled it with compost. So right in this hole here, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. So right in there we have the fabric. So that stops the compost from falling out. And that's because the beds were unlevel. Now the next bed to it is dripping water. I've got irrigation. Why is it? I'll have to check that. Okay, so next bed to it was even higher. And so that's what we did with the beds there, is we actually have blocks. We had to use more of the weed suppression fabric, but it looks pretty cool actually. Let's take a look from this side. So there's what the bed looks like on the bottom. So this is what the finished beds look like a few weeks later. We've got lots of veggies in them that are growing. And I just love it. I love how it looks. It looks amazing. We're actually going to make 3 more beds up on the hillside. But that is how you can use a true 2x8 with some 4x4 cedar to make these great beds that should last us a long, long time. All right, thanks for watching. Click on the like button if you like this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. And I'll keep sharing videos of what we're doing here on my mini homestead. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.